A rifle cracked in the distance. Cal Thornton didn't flinch. He'd stopped flinching 3 months ago when the first cow died. Now there were bodies everywhere, frozen in the snow, ribs jutting through hide like broken fingers clawing at the sky. The ticks were the worst part. Fat, swollen, still crawling even after the host went cold. Redemption Ridge was dying, and Cal was dying with it. But tonight, a woman would arrive, a stranger. Someone who answered a letter he didn't remember writing. Someone who claimed she could save what was left of his world, or burn the rest of it down trying. Behind him, smoke rose from where the barn used to be. Ahead, hoofbeats echoed through the pines. 10 riders, armed. Coming fast and standing beside him, a scientist with her father's blood on her hands and a secret that could bury empires. The mountains didn't care who lived or died, but tonight someone would. I lost 20 head this week, the count kept climbing. Every morning, another carcass frozen in the snow, eyes glazed, ribs showing through mangy hide, and those damned ticks, swollen, blood fat, crawling over dead flesh like they owned it. Maybe they did. Redemption Ridge. That's what the deed said. Redemption Ridge Ranch. 3,000 acres of pine and pasture carved out of the Bitterroot Mountains with my own hands. 10 years of work. 10 years of bleeding into this frozen ground, and now it was dying. I stood on the porch that December morning. Boot heels worn down to nothing. Coat that used to be buckskin before the grease and blood soaked in permanent. The wind came down off the mountains with teeth. Real teeth. The kind that find the gaps in your clothing and remind you that Montana doesn't give a damn about your plans. 53 head left, started the season with 212. The math was simple. Brutal, but simple. 6 weeks until the banknote came due. $3,200. Might as well be $3 million. Because I had maybe 800 in the strong box. And that was before paying the supply store. Before winter feed. Before anything that might keep me alive until spring. I struck a match on the porch rail. Cupped it against the wind. Lit my pipe. The tobacco was cheap. Tasted like burnt grass and regret. But it was hot, and hot was something. Down in the lower pasture, 3 more cows lay still. I didn't go check them. What was the point? The veterinarian from Stevensville had come out twice. Old Doc Brennan. Good man. Honest. Which meant he told me the truth. I don't know what's killing them, Cal. So some kind of fever. Something in the blood. Never seen it this far north. Never seen it. That's what killed you in Montana. The things nobody had seen before. I heard the creak of the barn door. Miguel came out. My only ranch hand left. The others quit when the paycheck started bouncing. Miguel stayed. Don't know why. Loyalty maybe. Or stupidity. Hard to tell the difference sometimes, Senor Cal. He pulled his hat down against the wind. 3 more gone, I know. You want I should drag them to the burn pit? Later, he nodded. Didn't ask questions. That was Miguel. He understood when a man needed silence. I watched him walk back to the barn, shoulders hunched, moving like someone twice his age. This place was breaking all of us. 6 months ago, I did something stupid. Real stupid. I got drunk. Not tipsy, not buzzed. Drunk. The kind where you wake up and don't remember how you got to bed. The kind where you find things you wrote and don't recognize your own handwriting. There was a matrimonial paper. Heart and Hand. Came in the mail every month. I never asked for it, but it kept coming. Pages of advertisements from women back east looking for husbands, looking for adventure, looking for whatever story they told themselves about the West. I wrote a letter. I don't remember writing it, but apparently I was honest. Too honest, because I told whoever would listen that I was a widower, that my ranch was failing, that winter was coming and I might not survive it, that I needed someone who understood life wasn't pretty, someone who knew that mountains don't care about your dreams. I signed it, sealed it, mailed it before I sobered up, then forgot about it, until 3 weeks ago telegraph came to the Stevensville station. The operator wrote out personally. Probably thought it was important news. Bank foreclosure, maybe. Death in the family. Instead, it was from the Pinkerton office in Chicago, forwarding a message from a Miss Mary Sullivan. Accepting my proposal, I read it 3 times. Standing in the snow. Miguel watching me like I'd grown a second head. Because I probably looked like it. Face probably doing things faces shouldn't do when a man realizes he accidentally got himself engaged to a complete stranger. "What is it?" Miguel asked. "I think I ordered a wife, you think?" I was drunk. He laughed. First time I'd heard him laugh in months, Senor Cal. "You are either very smart or very stupid, probably," he agreed. But the thing that kept me up at night for 3 weeks, the thing I couldn't stop thinking about. I didn't cancel it. I could have sent a telegram. Sorry, mistake. Don't come. But I didn't, because the ranch was dying, and I was dying with it. And maybe, just maybe, having another human being around would make the dying easier to watch. So today, December 15th, 1890, I was riding to Stevensville to pick up a woman I'd never met. A woman who agreed to marry a man who told her his life was falling apart. Either she was desperate, or crazy, or both. I saddled Goliath, my draft horse, 17 hands of muscle and patience. He'd been with me since the beginning. Survived winters that killed younger horses. Survived me. Miguel helped me tie down the pack mule. "You want I should come?" he asked. "No, stay here. Keep the fire going. If Blackwood's men show up, don't shoot them, even if they deserve it. Especially if they deserve it." Silas Blackwood, cattle baron out of Missoula. Owned half the territory. Wanted the other half. He'd been circling Redemption Ridge like a vulture for 2 years. Made 3 offers. Each one lower than the last. Each one delivered with that smile that wasn't a smile. That thing rich men do when they know you're drowning and they're holding the rope. Last time he came, I fired a Winchester over his head. He just laughed, tipped his hat, said, "See you when the bank forecloses, Thornton." I hated that he was probably right. The ride to Stevensville took 4 hours. Through snow that came up to Goliath's knees. Through pine forests so thick the sunlight couldn't reach the ground. Through silence so complete I could hear my own heartbeat in my ears. I thought about turning back probably a dozen times, but I didn't, because what was I turning back to? Empty cabin, a dying herd, a future that looked like a noose, at least this way, this stupid, desperate way. There'd be someone to talk to, someone to cook for, someone to make the silence less loud, even if she left after a week. Even if she took one look at Redemption Ridge and got back on the stage. At least I tried. Stevensville wasn't much. 50 buildings, maybe. A mercantile, a saloon, a church that doubled as a school, and the Wells Fargo station. I tied Goliath to the rail outside the mercantile. Old Jeremiah was sitting on the bench. He drove the stage, had been driving it for 30 years. Looked like someone carved him out of leather and forgot to add the soft parts. Cal Thornton. He spit tobacco juice into the snow. "Heard you got yourself a mail-order bride coming in. News traveled fast. That's the rumor. She pretty?" "How would I know? You didn't ask for a picture?" "I was drunk when I wrote the letter." He laughed. "The sound like rocks in a bucket, son. You are either the bravest man I know or the dumbest." "Probably the dumbest. Probably." The stage was late. Of course it was late. Nothing in Montana ran on time except the citizens. And even they were starting to argue with the calendar. I waited on the porch of the mercantile. Bought coffee that tasted like boot leather. Watched the street. Watched the sky. Watched my own breath fog in the cold air and wondered what the hell I was doing. Mary Sullivan. That's all I knew, a name. No picture, no description, no idea if she was 20 or 50, tall or short, kind or cruel, just a name, and a telegram that said, arriving December 15th. Prepared for hard work and honest partnership. Honest partnership. Those words stuck with me. Not romance, not love, not any of that flowery language the matrimonial ads usually had. Honest partnership. Like she was signing up for a business contract, not a marriage. Maybe that was better. Maybe that was all either of us could handle. The stage came around the bend at 2:30. 6 horses, covered in frost. Driver looking half-frozen himself. The coach rocked on its springs. Stopped in front of the station in a cloud of snow and steam. Jeremiah climbed down slow, joints creaking. "Got a passenger for you, Cal." My pulse jumped. I'd faced down grizzlies, survived blizzards, fought in the Apache campaigns back in the 70s. But this terrified me. The door opened, and she stepped down. I don't know what I expected, but it wasn't this. She wasn't young. Maybe 28, 30, old enough to have lived, old enough to have scars that didn't show on skin. She wore a dark wool traveling suit. Practical, well-made, the kind that cost money but was built to last. Not fashionable, functional. Her hair was dark, almost black. Pulled back tight in a way that said she didn't have time for nonsense. But it was her eyes. Green, sharp green. The kind that looked at you and saw through you. The kind that had watched things burn and didn't look away. Those weren't the eyes of someone looking for adventure. Those were the eyes of someone running from something. Or running toward it. She looked at me, direct. No smile. No batting eyelashes. Just looked, Mr. Thornton, I presume. Her voice was controlled, each word measured. Like she'd practiced this moment, I pulled off my hat. Felt like an idiot. "Miss Sullivan, call me. Mary. Cal," she nodded. "Turn to the stage. My trunks." Jeremiah and the driver hauled down 2 iron-reinforced trunks. They hit the ground with a thud that shook the snow off the porch rail. Heavy. Real heavy. "What'd you pack?" I tried to keep my voice light. "Rocks?" "Essentials." That was all she said. Essentials. I loaded the trunks onto the mule. They weighed more than any clothing and linens should. More than books, even. But I didn't ask. Figured she'd tell me if she wanted to. Figured she wouldn't. I helped her onto Goliath, my hands on her waist. Just to steady her. She was solid, not soft, not weak. Solid like someone who'd done physical work. And she smelled. Strange. Not perfume. Not flowers. Carbolic soap. The kind hospitals used. The kind you used to clean wounds. "You ready?" I asked. "I've been ready for 4 years. 4 years specific number." But she didn't explain. And I didn't ask. We rode in silence. The kind of silence that sits between 2 strangers who are supposed to be something more but don't know how yet. Her arms wrapped around my waist. Loose at first. Then tighter as Goliath climbed the mountain trail. Not because she was afraid, but because it was practical. Everything about this woman seemed practical. I broke the silence around mile marker 2. Had to. Because the guilt was eating me alive. "I need to be honest with you." "Mary." Honest would be refreshing. The ranch is failing. The letter I wrote. It was true. But things have gotten worse. I'm losing cattle every day to some kind of sickness. The banknote comes due in 6 weeks. And I don't have the money. I waited for her to tell me to turn the horse around, waited for the tears, waited for the accusations. Instead, "I didn't come for your money, Cal Thornton." "Then why did you come?" Silence. Long silence. Then I came for the mountains. And the things buried in them, I didn't understand, but the way she said it, like she was reciting a prayer or a threat, made me think maybe I shouldn't ask. We reached Redemption Ridge just before sunset. The cabin sat in a clearing. Log walls, shake roof, smoke coming from the chimney because Miguel kept his promises. It wasn't much, But it was mine, Mary, or whoever she really was. Slid off Goliath without my help, landed in the snow, looked at the cabin, the barn, the pasture beyond where the remaining cattle huddled against the wind. "How many head?" she asked. 53. "This morning started with?" 212. She did the math in her head. Fast, 75% mortality. Over what period? 3 months, symptoms, fever, weight loss. Then they just stop, collapse, die. Ticks? I blinked. How did she know about the ticks? Yeah, covered in them. Big ones. Swollen. She turned to me. Those green eyes locked on mine. I need to see the cattle. Now it's almost dark. I don't care. You just traveled for 3 days. I don't care. There was something in her voice. Not anger, not impatience, urgency. Like she'd been waiting for this moment. Like everything before, this was just the journey to get here. I took her to the lower pasture. The 3 cows I'd seen this morning were still there. Frozen now. Stiff. Miguel hadn't dragged them off yet. Mary walked right up to them. Didn't hesitate. Didn't show disgust. Just knelt in the snow. Pulled a pair of leather gloves from her coat. Started examining the nearest carcass. "Lantern," she said. I brought one. She held it close. Studied the hide. The eyes. Then she did something that made my stomach turn. Reached into her coat. Pulled out a small leather case. Opened it. Inside were tweezers. Tiny glass vials. A magnifying lens. She plucked a tick from the dead cow's neck. Dropped it in a vial. Sealed it. "What are you doing?" I asked. "Working? You're a what? A veterinarian?" She looked up at me. Snow in her hair. Lantern light making her face half shadow. "No, women aren't allowed to be veterinarians." "Then what are you?" She stood. Brushed snow from her knees. Looked me dead in the eye. "I'm the daughter of the man who discovered what's killing your cattle. And I'm here to finish his work." Everything changed in that moment. The stranger became someone else entirely. "Your name isn't Mary Sullivan?" "No, who are you?" She held the vial up. The tick inside still moving. "Still alive. My name is Willa Catherine Ashford. My father was Dr. Samuel Ashford. He worked for the Bureau of Animal Industry in Washington. He discovered that Texas fever isn't spread by bad air or bad water. It's spread by these." She shook the vial. "Boophilus annulatus, cattle ticks. They carry a parasite. Babesia bigumina. It destroys red blood cells, causes fever, anemia. Death." My brain tried to catch up. "Failed your father. He was a scientist. He was brilliant, was?" Her face went hard. "He died 4 years ago. His laboratory burned. The cattle barons said it was an accident. It wasn't. They killed him. They killed him because he threatened their profits. Because if ranchers knew the truth, that disease spreads through tick-infested cattle shipped from Texas. They'd demand quarantine, demand regulation, demand the law actually protect them." She put the vial back in her case, snapped it shut. "But women can't publish research, can't testify in court, can't work for the Bureau. So I ran, changed my name, learned to hide, until now. I looked at her. This woman, this stranger. Ho wasn't a stranger. Ho was something else entirely. "Why here?" I asked. "Why my ranch?" She met my eyes. No flinching. "Because I read your letter. Cal Thornton. You said you were desperate. You said your ranch was dying. You said you needed someone who understood that life isn't fair. So you used me." Yes, at least she was honest. "I need a testing ground," she continued. "I need cattle sick enough to prove my treatment works. I need a man desperate enough to let me try. And I need to be somewhere far enough from Washington that no one will find me. You're hiding. I'm surviving." The wind picked up, howled through the pines. The lantern flickered. "What if I say no?" I asked. "What if I tell you to get back on that stage?" She smiled. But it wasn't a happy smile. It was the smile of someone who'd already lost everything and had nothing left to fear. "Then you'll lose your ranch in 6 weeks, and I'll find another desperate man." There's always another desperate man, brutal, but true. I looked at the dead cattle, at the barn, at the cabin, at 10 years of my life bleeding into frozen ground. Then I looked at her, this lying, brilliant, dangerous woman who might be my only chance. How long, I asked. How long for what? How long to cure them? She glanced at the cattle. Back at me, 2 weeks. If I'm right. If the treatment works. And if you're wrong, then we both lose everything. Fair enough. I held out my hand. She looked at it. Surprised. Partners, I said. She took my hand. Firm grip. No hesitation. Partners. We walked back to the cabin. Miguel was waiting on the porch. Saw us coming. Saw her. His eyes went wide. Senor Cal. You brought home a wife? Something like that. She knows everything. Miguel looked at Willa, then at me, then back at Willa. Welcome to Redemption Ridge. Senora, Willa smiled. First real smile I'd seen from her. Thank you, Miguel. We went inside. The cabin was warm. Fire crackling. Stew on the stove. Miguel had kept his promise. Willa looked around, took in the rough furniture, the bearskin rug, the gun rack, the single bookshelf with maybe 10 books total. Where do you want me to sleep? She asked. I pointed to the back room. That was my wife's room. Before she died. Yeah. Willa nodded. No awkwardness, no pity, just acceptance. I'll take it. Miguel carried her trunks inside, nearly threw his back out. Madre de Dios. What is in these? Willa unlocked the first trunk and my jaw dropped. Books. At least 30 of them. Medical texts. Research journals. Handwritten notes. But that wasn't what made me stare. The second trunk. She opened it. Inside, nested in velvet, a brass microscope, glass slides, surgical instruments, bottles of chemicals I couldn't name, and a rifle, a Remington rolling block oiled, maintained. Ready, you came prepared, I said. I always come prepared. Miguel crossed himself. Senora, you are either an angel or a demon. Willa closed the trunk, locked it. Neither. I'm a scientist. That first night was strange. We ate Miguel's stew. Didn't talk much. Because what was there to say? She'd lied about who she was. I'd accidentally proposed to a fugitive scientist. We were both using each other, and somehow that made it honest. After dinner, Willa went to her room. Came out with a leather-bound journal, sat by the fire, started writing, fast, precise handwriting. What are you doing? I asked, documenting. Date. Location. Number of infected cattle. Symptoms observed. Environmental conditions. Why? She looked up. Firelight caught her face. Because if this works, if I cure your herd, I need proof. Evidence that can't be denied. Not by cattle barons. Not by the Bureau. Not by anyone. And if it doesn't work, then at least someone will know I tried. I watched her write for an hour. Watched the way she bit her lower lip when she was thinking. Watched the way her hand moved across the page without hesitation. Like she'd done this 1,000 times. Maybe she had, finally, around 10. She closed the journal. I need to start at dawn, she said. I need to examine every remaining animal. Blood samples, skin scrapings. Full inventory. I'll help. You don't have to. It's my ranch. She looked at me. Something in her eyes softened. Just a fraction, thank you. Don't thank me yet. You might still fail, I might, and if you do, we're both ruined. I know. She stood, stretched, headed toward her room, then stopped, turned back. Cal? Yeah? Your letter. The one you wrote drunk. You said something I haven't been able to forget. What's that? You said, the mountains here can heal broken souls. Or bury them. Depends on how hard you fight. I remembered writing that. Barely. You think that's true? She asked. I looked at the fire. At the shadows dancing on the walls. I think we're about to find out. She nodded, went to bed, and I sat there, in the silence, thinking about how everything had changed in one day. I'd expected a wife, got a scientist, expected companionship, got a partner in a desperate gamble, expected maybe. just maybe. Some comfort. Got a woman who looked at death and took notes. But here's the thing I couldn't stop thinking about as I banked the fire and headed to my own bed. For the first time in 3 months, I didn't feel alone. Dawn came cold and clear. I woke to the smell of coffee. Real coffee, not the burnt grass I'd been drinking. Willa was already up, already dressed, already moving. She'd made breakfast, eggs, bacon, biscuits that didn't taste like rocks. "Where'd you learn to cook?" I asked. "My mother. Before she died. I'm sorry, don't be. She taught me everything useful. Cooking, shooting, how to survive men who think women are decorative." She handed me a plate. "Eat. We have work." Miguel joined us. Rubbing sleep from his eyes, "The Senora cooks better than you, Senor Cal. Not hard." We ate fast, then headed to the pasture. Willa brought her medical kit, notebook, pencils. She worked like a machine, examined each cow, one by one, checked eyes, gums, listened to heartbeats with a stethoscope she pulled from her bag, drew blood samples into glass vials, scraped skin samples where the ticks clustered, wrote everything down. I held the animals steady. Miguel brought water. We worked for 6 hours straight. By noon, Willa had examined all 53 head. She sat on a fence rail, covered in mud and worse, hair falling out of its pins, but her eyes, bright, focused. "They're all infected," she said. "Every single one. Can you cure them?" "I don't know yet." "That's not comforting. I'm not here to comfort you. I'm here to save your cattle." "Fair enough." She jumped down from the fence, started walking toward the creek. "Where are you going?" I called. "To find the source." "Source of what?" "The ticks." I followed her. Miguel followed me. We walked for 20 minutes, following the creek upstream, until we reached the geothermal spring, warm water. Even in winter, steam rising, Willa knelt by the edge, started digging in the mud. "What are you looking for?" I asked. She didn't answer, just kept digging, then stopped, pulled something out of the mud, a burlap sack, rotting, falling apart. She opened it. The smell hit me like a fist. Decomposing flesh, fur, hide, cattle hides covered in ticks, dead ticks, but also eggs. Larvae. Willa's face went white, then red. "No," she whispered. "What is it?" She stood, holding the sack, shaking. "Someone did this. Someone planted infected hides in your water source, in the warmest spot on your ranch, where the ticks could survive winter, where they could hatch, where they could infest your entire herd." I stared at the sack, at the brand stamped on the burlap, faded, but readable Backawood Cattle Sow. My blood ran cold. "Silas Blackwood," I said. "You know him?" "He's been trying to buy my ranch for 2 years." Willa looked at me, then at the sack, then back at me. "Cal, this isn't a natural outbreak. This is biological warfare." The word hung in the air. Warfare. He poisoned my herd to bankrupt me so he could buy the land cheap. Yes. I looked at the creek, at my ranch, at everything I'd built, and the rage, cold, clean, deadly, settled in my chest. "I'm going to kill him," I said. Willa grabbed my arm. "No, you're not. The hell I'm not. If you kill him, you hang. He wins. Your ranch goes to the bank, and I lose my chance to prove my father was right. Then what do you suggest?" She looked at the sack, at the evidence. "We cure your cattle. We document everything. We get proof. And we bury him with the law. The law doesn't care about ranchers. Then we make them care." I wanted to argue. Wanted to saddle Goliath and ride to Missoula and put a bullet in Silas Blackwood's skull. But Willa's hand on my arm, steady strong, made me stop. 2 weeks, she said. "Give me 2 weeks. If the cure works, we have proof. Proof that can't be ignored." I looked at her. This woman who'd lied to me, who'd used me, who was now the only thing standing between me and a noose. 2 weeks, I said. She nodded, released my arm. We carried the sack back to the cabin, buried it behind the barn. Evidence for later, that night. After Miguel went to his bunk, Willa and I sat by the fire. She had her microscope set up on the table, examining the blood samples. I watched her work, the way she moved the slides, adjusted the focus. Made note, do you see it, I asked. The parasite, yes, Babesia bigemina, destroys the red blood cells. That's what causes the anemia. The fever, can you kill it? She looked up, pushed hair out of her face. My father developed a treatment, arsenic trioxide, combined with sulfur, in precise doses. It kills the parasite, but if the dose is wrong, it kills the cow. Have you done this before? In a lab. With mice? Mice aren't cattle, I know. So you're guessing. She met my eyes. I'm making an educated gamble, which is all science ever is. I leaned back, stared at the ceiling. My wife, Anne. She died 3 years ago. Diphtheria, I'm sorry, I watched her die. For 2 weeks, fever, couldn't breathe, couldn't swallow. And there was nothing I could do. There was no cure. There is now. Antitoxin. Developed 2 years after she died. Willa was quiet. Then, that's why you're letting me do this, isn't it? I looked at her. If there's a cure, and I don't try it, then I'm just watching something die again. For no reason, she nodded, understood. We sat in silence. The fire crackled outside. The wind howled, and somewhere in Missoula, Silas Blackwood had no idea that the woman I'd brought home wasn't just a mail-order bride. She was a weapon, and I just aimed her at his empire. The first week passed in a blur. Willa worked from dawn until midnight, mixing chemicals. The kitchen, the cabin smelled like sulfur and death. But she didn't stop, didn't slow down. She tested the treatment on the sickest cow first. A heifer named Daisy. Couldn't even stand anymore. Willa injected the compound directly into the jugular. Then we waited 24 hours. Daisy didn't die. 48 hours. Daisy stood up. 72 hours. Daisy walked to the water trough, drank, ate hay. The ticks on her hide shriveled, fell off, dead. I watched Willa's face when she saw it. The moment she knew it worked, she didn't smile, didn't celebrate, just nodded. Made a note in her journal. It works, she said. How many can you treat? All of them. If we start now, we started. For 7 days, we worked. Willa mixing the compound, me and Miguel holding the cattle steady. Gillian. One by one, it was brutal work. The cattle fought, kicked. Some tried to gore us, but Willa didn't flinch, didn't hesitate, just kept moving. By day 7. We'd treated 49 head. 4 were too far gone, had to be put down, but the rest were healing. Tacks dying, fever breaking, flesh filling back in. It was a miracle, except it wasn't a miracle. It was science that night. Willa collapsed at the table. Didn't even make it to her room, just asleep. Face on her notebook. I picked her up, carried her to bed. She was lighter than I expected. All that strength, all that fire. In a frame that weighed maybe 120 pounds, I laid her on the bed, pulled off her boots, covered her with a blanket. She didn't wake. I stood there, looking at her. This woman who'd saved my ranch. This woman who'd lied to me. This woman who I was starting to know. I stopped that thought because partnerships weren't about feelings. They were about survival. And we were surviving. That's all that mattered. The blizzard came without warning. One moment, clear sky. Next moment, wall of white. The temperature dropped 20 degrees in an hour, whined screaming down from the mountains. Willa and I were checking the cattle in the high pasture when it hit. We need to move them, she shouted over the wind. No time. We need to get to shelter. There are 15 head up here. They'll freeze. So will we, she looked at me. Snow already coating her hair, her eyelashes. I didn't come this far to lose them now. Stubborn, brilliant, insane. Fine, why drive them down? But if we die, I'm blaming you. We drove the cattle down the mountain, 15 terrified cows, in a blizzard. Down a trail that was more ice than dirt. It took 2 hours by the time we got them to the barn. I couldn't feel my hands. Willa was shaking so hard her teeth chattered. Inside, I said. Now, the cabin was warm. Miguel had the fire roaring, but Willa was soaked through. Hypothermic. Get out of those clothes, I ordered. I'm fine. You're blue. Get out of those clothes. She glared at me, but she was smart enough to know I was right. She went to her room, changed back, came back wrapped in a wool blanket. I handed her coffee. Laced with whiskey. Drink. She drank. Color started coming back to her face. We sat by the fire, not talking, just thawing. Finally, thank you, she said. For what? For not leaving me up there. You're my partner. Partners don't leave each other. She looked at me, something in her eyes I hadn't seen before. Softness. Your wife, Anne. She was lucky. Lucky to die of diphtheria. Lucky to have you. I didn't know what to say to that, so I said nothing. The blizzard raged for 3 days. We were trapped in the cabin. Willa, me, Miguel. We played cards, read, talked, and I learned things about Willa, about who she was before she became a fugitive. She told me about her father, Dr. Samuel Ashford, how he was brilliant, obsessed, kind, how he let her assist in his research when she was 14, how she fell in love with science, how the cattle barons turned on him when his research threatened their profits, how they burned his laboratory, how she found him in the wreckage, still breathing. But barely. He died 3 days later, she said, staring into the fire, smoke inhalation, burns, but mostly a broken heart, and you've been running ever since. I've been fighting ever since. There's a difference? She looked at me. Running is about fear. Fighting is about purpose. I know which one I'm doing. On the 3rd day. The storm broke. We dug out, chocked the cattle, all of them alive, all of them healing. Willa stood in the pasture, watching them. 49 head, she said. 49 survivors, because of you, because of us. She turned to me, snow in her hair, sun breaking through the clouds behind her, and for the first time, I saw her smile, really smile, not the controlled thing she did around strangers, but real, genuine, joy, and something in my chest. Cracked because I realized I didn't want her to leave. When this was over, when the cattle were cured, when she proved her father was right, I didn't want her to go back east. I wanted her here with me. But I didn't say it, because saying it would make it real, and real things could hurt you. So I just smiled back. Come on, I said. Let's get inside. Miguel made stew. Is it good? It's food. Good enough. We walked back to the cabin, side by side, and I realized, for the first time since Anne died, I wasn't walking alone. We were finishing the last treatment when the riders came, 4 men, on horseback. Coming up the trail, Miguel saw them first. Senor Cal, company. I looked, and my blood went cold, because I recognized the lead horse, black gelding. Silver-trimmed saddle, Silas Blackwood. He rode into my yard like he owned it. 3 hired guns behind him, stopped 20 feet from the porch, smiled. That smile that wasn't a smile, Thornton. I heard you got yourself a wife. I stepped off the porch. Hand on my Colt. This is private property, Blackwood. You're trespassing. Just came to check on my future investment. Heard your cattle are still dying. Heard wrong. His smile faltered, just a fraction. He looked past me, at Willa, who'd come out of the barn covered in mud, hair wild, but standing straight. And who's this? He asked. My wife. He studied her. Too long, too close. And something, some flicker of recognition, crossed his face. Have we met? He asked her. Willa met his eyes, cool, steady. No, but there was something in her voice, something that made Blackwood's smile disappear completely. You look familiar. I have one of those faces. He didn't believe her. I could see it. But he didn't push. Instead, he turned back to me. The banknote comes due in 4 days, Thornton. You got the money? I'll have it. He laughed. With what? Dead cattle? They're not dead yet. I took a step forward. Get off my land, or what? You'll shoot me? In front of witnesses? My hand tightened on the Colt. Blackwood saw it. His men reached for their guns. And Willa stepped between us. Calm, gentlemen, my husband and I are trying to run a ranch. Perhaps you could conduct your business. Elsewhere, Blackwood looked at her, then at me, then back at her. 4 days, he said. And then this land is mine. He yanked his reins, rode off. His men followed. When they were gone, I turned to Willa. He recognized you. No, he recognized something about me. But he doesn't know what. What if he figures it out? She looked at me. Then we'd better cure these cattle fast and get our proof before he comes back. That night I couldn't sleep. Kept seeing Blackwood's face, the way he looked at Willa, like he was trying to remember something, like a word on the tip of his tongue, and the way Willa stood. Too still, too calm, like she was holding her breath. I found her in the kitchen, 2 in the morning, sitting at the table with her soup microscope, making notes by lamplight. You should sleep, I said. Can't. Because of Blackwood? She didn't answer, just kept writing. I sat across from her, waited. Finally he was there, she said. Voice flat. 4 years ago. At my father's laboratory. The day before it burned, my stomach dropped. You saw him? I was upstairs, in the storage room, cataloging specimens. I heard voices, angry voices, so I looked. She stopped writing, stared at the wall. There were 3 men. One of them was Silas Blackwood, younger then, but him. I'd know that face anywhere. What were they saying? They told my father his research was dangerous, bad for business, that if he published it, if he testified to Congress about the tick vectors, they'd ruin him. And your father? He told them the truth, doesn't care about their profits. She looked at me, eyes hard. 2 days later, the lab burned. My father inside. Did you tell anyone? The police? Federal marshals. I tried. They said I was hysterical, grief-stricken, that I'd imagined it, because women are emotional. Women aren't reliable witnesses. She slammed her notebook shut, so I stopped trying to convince them and started collecting proof instead. Is that why you're here? Not just to cure the cattle, but to get evidence against Blackwood? Willa met my eyes. I'm here for both. The truth settled between us, cold, heavy. If he figures out who you are, he'll kill me. Yes, then maybe you should leave. Before? No, Willa. No, I've run for 4 years, changed my name, hidden, let him win. I'm done running. She stood, paced, fire in her movements. The cattle are healing. We have 49 head that were dying, now living. Because of science, because of proof. If we can document this, publish it, show that someone deliberately infected your herd with diseased ticks from Texas, then we can link it back to Blackwood. Back to what he did to my father. That's a lot of ifs. It's all I have. I watched her pace, watched her hands clench, unclench. This woman who'd lied to me, who'd used my desperation, who was now the bravest person I'd ever met, or the most reckless, hard to tell. Okay, I said. She stopped. Okay, what? We do it your way. We get the proof. Document everything. And when Blackwood comes back, we hit him with evidence he can't deny. You believe me? I believe your cattle treatment worked. I believe those burlap sacks have Blackwood's brand. And I believe you've got more brains than any man I've met. So, yeah, I believe you. Something in her face
softened.
Just for a second, then she nodded. Professional again. We need to photograph everything. The cattle, before and after, the tick samples, the infected hides, and we need written testimony. From you, from Miguel, from Doc Brennan if he'll sign it. When? Now. We have 4 days before the bank closes, before Blackwood thinks he's won. And then, she smiled, dangerous smile. Then we go to war. Next morning. Willa disappeared into her room, came out with a wooden box camera, big heavy thing. Brass fittings, glass plates. Where'd you get that? I asked. My father taught me photography. Said science without documentation is just storytelling. She set it up in the pasture, photographed each healed cow. One by one, made me hold a slate with the date, the animal's identifying marks before. After, the difference was staggering. Cows that had been walking skeletons 2 weeks ago, now filling out, coats shining, eyes bright. Meagle watched from the fence. "Senora is magic," he said. "Senora is science," Willa corrected. But she smiled while the photographs developed. She wrote pages and pages, methodology, dosage, results, every detail documented, like building a case, which I guess she was. "Will this be enough?" I asked. "For what?" "To prove Blackwood killed your father." She stopped writing. "No, this proves he poisoned your cattle. That's not murder. It's complicated. Business sabotage, maybe. But the federal government barely cares about that. Then what's the point?" "The point is pattern. If we can show he's done this before, to other ranches, then it's not one incident. It's systematic. Criminal. Something they can't ignore. You think he's done this to other ranches? I know he has. 6 ranches went bankrupt in this valley in the last 3 years. All bought by Blackwood for pennies. All suffered mysterious cattle die-offs first." "How do you know that?" She pulled out a newspaper. Folded, worn. From her bag, Helena Independent. 2 years old. An article about failing ranches in western Montana. She'd underlined every mention of Silas Blackwood. "I've been tracking him for 4 years. Everywhere he buys land, cattle die first. It's his pattern." I stared at the paper. "At 4 years of obsession, Willa. This isn't just about science. This is personal. Of course it's personal. He killed my father, and you're using my ranch, my cattle. To get revenge." She looked at me. No apology in her eyes. "Yes. Is that a problem?" I should have been angry. Should have felt used. But instead, "How can I help?" We rode to Stevensville together. Left Miguel to watch the ranch. The telegraph office was in the back of the mercantile. Old Mr. Patterson ran it, half-deaf. Fully nosy Cal Thornton. Twice in 1 month. "What's the occasion?" "Need to send some telegrams." "To who?" "That's my business." He squinted at me. "Then at Willa. This the mail-order bride?" "This is my wife. She talks?" Willa stepped forward, handed him a list. "I need these sent. Today. Paid in advance." Patterson looked at the list, eyes widening. "This is 15 telegrams to Washington. To Texas. To, can you send them or not?" He looked at me. I nodded. "Your money," he muttered, while he tapped out the messages. Willa browsed the store, found a bolt of fabric. Dark blue wool. "What's that for?" I asked. "I need a new coat. This one's falling apart. You sew?" "My mother taught me, before she died. Said a woman should be able to make what she needs, because men can't be trusted to provide it." "Your mother sounds practical." "My mother was a genius. Married the wrong man. Died young. But genius. She bought the fabric. Some thread needles." We walked out and nearly collided with someone. Sheriff Tom Ryman. Tall, weathered, honest face. But tired eyes. "Cal, heard you got married. Congratulations, thanks." "Tom." He tipped his hat to Willa. "Ma'am." She nodded. He looked at me, lowered his voice. "Also heard Blackwood's been sniffing around your place." "He has. Be careful. He's gotten aggressive. Last 2 ranchers who defied him had accidents." "What kind of accidents?" "The kind where you fall off your horse and break your neck. Even though you've been riding since you were 6. My blood went cold." "You investigate?" I tried. "Blackwood's got lawyers. Good ones. Everything comes back clean, so he just gets away with it." Ryman's jaw tightened. "I didn't say that. I said he's gotten away with it, past tense. But if someone, hypothetically, had real evidence, federal evidence, that's a different story." He looked at Willa, back at me, just saying. "If someone had evidence, I'd make sure it got to the right people." Then he walked away. Willa watched him go. "Can we trust him?" "Tom Raymond's honest. It's his only flaw. Honest men don't survive long out here. No. But they're useful when you need a witness. We rode back to the ranch, storm clouds building over the mountains, another blizzard coming. I could feel it in the air, that pressure. That cold. How long until your telegrams get responses? I asked. If anyone responds. 2 days, maybe 3, and if they don't, then we go with your plan. And hope we don't get killed. That's comforting. I'm not here to comfort you. Yeah. I'm starting to notice that. She looked at me, something in her eyes. Softer. I'm sorry for lying. For using you. For all of this, don't apologize for being smart. It's insulting. She blinked, then smiled. You're different than I expected. Expected what? Dumb cowboy? Expected. Simpler. But you're not simple. You're layered like an onion, like a person. We rode in silence after that, but it was. Different silence, not uncomfortable, just quiet, the kind of quiet where you don't need to fill the space, because the space is enough. The blizzard came that night, worse than the last one. Wind like knives, snow so thick you couldn't see 5 feet, temperature dropped to 20 below. We brought the cattle into the barn, all 49 head crammed in tight. But warm, safe. Miguel sealed the windows. I brought in extra firewood. Willa cooked some kind of stew. With vegetables I didn't know we had. Where'd you find these? I asked. I bought them. In Stevensville, while you were talking to the sheriff. With what money? She gave me a look. I have money. I'm not destitute. Just wanted, right, wanted. By who exactly? Blackwood's people. The Bureau. Probably half of Pennsylvania by now. That's comforting. You keep using that word. I don't think it means what you think it means. I laughed. Couldn't help it. Because she was right. Nothing about this was comforting. But somehow it was working. We ate. The 3 of us crowded around the table, storm howling outside, fire crackling, and for the first time in years, the cabin felt full, not empty, not haunted by ghosts, just full. Tell me about Anne, Willa said. I looked up. Surprised. Why? Because she was your wife. Because she lived here. Because if I'm going to sleep in her room, I should know who she was. Fair she was. Kind. Gentle. Everything I'm not. She made this place feel like home. Planted flowers. Cooked. Sang while she worked. You loved her. I did. Do you still? The question hung there, heavy. I loved who she was. I miss who she was. But she's gone. And I can't live with ghosts. Willa nodded, understanding. My mother died when I was 16. Cholera. Fast. Brutal. One day she was fine, 3 days later. Gone. I'm sorry. My father never recovered. Threw himself into work. Into research. Like if he saved enough animals. Enough lives. It would make up for the one he couldn't save, did it? No. It just made him lonely. Miguel crossed himself. Life is hard. God is harder. God's got nothing to do with it, Willa said. Life is just life. Random. Unfair. The only thing we control is how we respond. And how do you respond? I asked. She looked at me. I fight until I can't fight anymore. Then I fight anyway. The storm raged for 2 days. We were trapped. Again. But this time it felt different. Willa sat by the fire, sewing her new coat, hands moving fast, precise. I watched her, the way she bit her lip when concentrating, the way she hummed, quietly. Some tune I didn't recognize. What's that song? I asked. Something my mother used to sing. I don't remember the words. Sing it anyway. I can't sing, neither can I. Do it anyway. She looked at me then, quietly. Started humming louder. The melody was sad, but beautiful. Like something you'd hear in a church or a graveyard. Miguel joined in, adding harmony, his voice rough but true. And for a few minutes, we weren't 3 people trapped in a blizzard. We were something else, family maybe, or close enough. On the second night, the telegrams came. Master Patterson's son rode through the storm, 16 years old. Half frozen, but clutching a leather pouch. Telegrams. For Mrs. Thornton, Willa took them. Tip the boy $2. Get inside. Warm up before you ride back. Can't. Pa says the lines might go down. Need to get back. He rode off into the white. Willa opened the telegrams, one by one, her face. Unreadable. Well, I asked. 3 responses. From former ranchers Blackwood bought out, and all 3 had similar cattle die-offs. All 3 found nothing when they investigated. But one, she held up a telegram, one found burlap sacks near his water source. Burned them. Didn't think anything of it. Did they have Blackwood's brand? He doesn't remember, but he remembers the timing. Die-off started 2 weeks after Blackwood made his first purchase offer. That's pattern, that's pattern. She smiled. Fierce. We have him. We have enough for reasonable suspicion. Not proof. Then we get proof. How? She looked at me. Your plan. The trap. We spring it tomorrow. Tomorrow, the storm still. Tomorrow. Before he realizes we know. Before he has time to cover his tracks. Willa. Tomorrow. Cal. We end this. I looked at her, at the fire in her eyes, the determination, and I realized I'd follow this woman into hell if she asked. Okay. Tomorrow, she nodded, went to her room, came back with her rifle, started cleaning it. Oilcloth. Methodical. You know how to use that? I asked. She looked up. My father taught me. Said women need to protect themselves. Because men won't always be there. Smart man. He was. Until Blackwood killed him, she went back to cleaning. I watched the firelight play on the metal, watched her hands. Steady. Sure, and thought. Tomorrow we go to war. And I'm going with a woman who knows how to fight. Blackwood had no idea what was coming. The storm broke at dawn, sky clear, air cold. Snow 3 feet deep. We saddled the horses. Willa wore her new coat, dark blue. Fit her perfectly, rifle slung over her shoulder, hair braided tight. She looked dangerous. Miguel stayed behind. Protect the ranch, I told him. From who? Anyone who's not us. He nodded. Load his shotgun. We rode to Blackwood's ranch. Took 6 hours, through snow, through cold, through forest so quiet you could hear your own thoughts. I didn't like my thoughts. They kept saying, "This is stupid. This will get you killed." But I ignored them, because sometimes stupid is all you have left. Blackwood's ranch was huge. Main house, 3 stories, white pillars. Like a southern plantation, barns, bunkhouses. Corrals stretching for acres. Money everywhere you looked. Money. We rode right up to the front door. Dismounted, walked up the steps. I knocked. A butler answered. Actual butler, suit, white gloves. British accent. May I help you? Tell Blackwood. Cal Thornton is here. With evidence, the butler's face didn't change. Mr. Blackwood is not receiving visitors. He'll receive us, I'm afraid. Willa pushed past him. Walked right into the house. Willa. She turned, smiled, sweet smile, dangerous smile. I'm not waiting in the cold. Are you coming? I followed. The butler sputtered. You can't just, we just did. The entrance hall was massive. Marble floors, crystal chandelier, paintings of dead white men on the walls, and standing at the top of the stairs, Silas Blackwood. He wasn't smiling. Thornton. What is the meaning of this? We need to talk. We have nothing to discuss. We have everything to discuss. He came down the stairs, slow, deliberate, like a king descending to deal with peasants. You have 1 minute. Willa stepped forward. My name is Willa Catherine Ashford, daughter of Dr. Samuel Ashford, Bureau of Animal Industry. You killed my father 4 years ago. Blackwood stopped, went very still. I have no idea what you're talking about. Yes, you do. You were at his laboratory, November 3rd, 1886. You and 2 other men. You threatened him, told him to stop his research. 2 days later, the lab burned. He died. I've never met your father. You're lying. Blackwood's face went red. How dare you come into my home and accuse? I also know you've been poisoning cattle, deliberately infecting ranches with Texas fever ticks. So you can buy land cheap when the ranchers go bankrupt, he laughed. Cold, hollow. That's quite a story. Do you have proof? Willa reached into her coat, pulled out a photograph, handed it to him. This is a burlap sack, found on Mr. Thornton's property, near his water source, filled with tick-infested cattle hides. Your brand is on the sack. Blackwood looked at the photo, his face, carefully blank, could be anyone's sack. My company sells thousands to ranches in Texas, not Montana. Why would your sacks, stamped with your brand, end up buried in Montana soil? I have no idea. I think you do. He handed the photo back. This proves nothing, and you, Miss Ashford, are trespassing. I'm going to have to ask you to leave. We're not leaving until... Leave. Now, or I'll have my men remove you. 3 men stepped out of the shadows, hired guns, hands on their pistols. I reached for my Colt. Don't, Blackwood said. You're outnumbered, outgunned, and no jury in Montana will convict me for defending my property. He was right, damn him. He was right. Willa looked at me, calm. Let's go. But, now, Cal, we walked out, mounted our horses, rode away. I waited until we were out of earshot. Then, what the hell was that? That was bait. Bait for what? She smiled. He knows we know. He knows we have evidence, and he knows we can connect him to other ranches. So now, he has 2 choices. What choices? Ignore us. Let the law handle it. Hope his lawyers can bury it, or eliminate us. Before we can testify, my stomach dropped. You're using us as bait. I'm forcing his hand. If he comes after us, he proves guilt. We get witnesses. We get evidence of attempted murder. That's federal. And if he kills us, then we're dead. But at least we tried. I stared at her. You're insane. I'm strategic. Same thing. We rode back to Redemption Ridge. Fast, because if Blackwood was coming, he wouldn't wait. We got home at sunset. Miguel met us at the door. Senor Cal. We have a problem. What problem? He pointed to the barn smoke rising from the back wall. No, I ran. Willa right behind me. We threw open the barn doors. Fire small, contained to one corner, but spreading. The cattle panicked, screaming, kicking. Get them out, I shouted. We drove them into the pasture, all 49 head, while Miguel and I fought the fire. Buckets, snow, anything. Took an hour, but we got it out. Barn damaged, but standing. Cattle safe, but shaken. I stood in the snow, covered in soot, breathing hard. How did it start? Miguel asked. Willa knelt by the back wall, picked up something, held it up, a torch, still smoldering. Blackwood, I said. Not Blackwood, his men. But yes, she looked at me. It started that night. We didn't sleep. Took turns on watch. Rifles loaded, waiting. For what? We didn't know, but it was coming. Around midnight, I heard horses. Willa heard them too. We went to the window. 4 riders, combing up the trail. Slow, Miguel. Wake up. He grabbed his shotgun. We waited. The riders stopped 50 yards out. One of them shouted, Thornton, come out. We need to talk. I recognized the voice. One of Blackwood's foreman name was Carson. Mean son of a bitch. What do you want? I shouted back. Mr. Blackwood sent us. With a message. I'm listening. He's willing to pay. Double what the banks owed if you sign over the deed. Tonight, not interested, he also said. If you don't, he can't guarantee your safety, or your wife's. Willa stiffened beside me. That a threat? I shouted. That's a fact. I looked at Willa. She shook her head. Tell Blackwood. He can go to hell. Carson laughed. Your funeral. They rode off. Into the dark, Miguel crossed himself. We're going to die, aren't we? Not if I can help it, Willa said. And if you can't? Then we die fighting. She said it so calmly, like she was discussing the weather, not our impending murder. I looked at her, this woman, this brilliant, reckless, fearless woman, and realized I didn't want to die, but if I had to, at least I wouldn't die alone. Next morning, Willa laid out a map on the table, drew lines, marked positions. Here's what we do. She pointed. The ranch is defensible, but only if we control the approaches. There are 3 ways in, the main trail, the creek route. And the North Ridge, we can't cover all 3. We don't have to. We just need to make Blackwood think we can. How? We set traps, tripwires, noisemakers, anything that makes it look like we're ready. Then we wait for what? For him to come. Because he will tonight, tomorrow night. He won't wait long because every day we're alive. We're a threat, and when he comes, she looked at me. We take him alive. We get his confession, on record. In front of witnesses, you think he'll confess? I think if we threaten him with the right leverage, he will. What leverage? She smiled. His empire, his reputation, his freedom. Men like Blackwood, they'll do anything to protect what they've built. Even confess. If it means a lighter sentence, that's actually smart, I know. We spent the day setting up, tripwires across the trails, bells, tin cans, anything that would rattle. Miguel rigged a scarecrow with a lantern, made it look like someone was on watch at the North Ridge. Willa set up her camera, pointed at the main approach. For evidence, she said. By nightfall, we were ready. As ready as we'd ever be. We ate, checked weapons, waited. The sun set, the moon rose, and the cold settled in, bone deep. I sat by the window, Willa beside me, Miguel at the back door. Silence, the kind that presses on your ears. Cal? Willa's voice. Quiet. Yeah? If this doesn't work, if we don't make it, I want you to know. I'm sorry. For what? For dragging you into this. You didn't ask for any of it. I asked for a wife. I got a warrior. I'll take it. She laughed soft. Then, thank you for not giving up on me. Even when you should have. I looked at her, really looked at the way the moonlight caught her face, at the strength in her jaw, at the fear she was trying to hide. Willa, I don't know what happens tonight, but I need you to know. I don't regret any of this. Not the lie, not the risk, not. You, she turned, met my eyes. Cal, a bell rang, distant from the North Ridge. We froze then, hoofbeats, coming fast. Positions, I shouted. Miguel ran to the back. Willa grabbed her rifle. I went to the door, waited. The hoofbeats got closer, louder then. They stopped, right outside. I heard footsteps on the porch, a knock. Thornton, open up. Not Carson's voice. Someone else. I cracked the door. Sheriff Tom Ryman stood there, alone, badge gleaming. Tom, we need to talk. Now, I let him in. He looked around, saw the weapons, the barricades, expecting trouble. Blackwood's men burned my barn last night. Threatened my wife. Ryman's face darkened. That's what I came to tell you. Blackwood's planning something. Tonight. I got word from one of his ranch hands. The kid got scared. Came to me. What's he planning? He's bringing 10 men, armed. Says you're squatting on land he already bought. That he's got a legal right to evict you. That's a lie. I know it's a lie. But he's got paperwork, forged, but official looking. And if he shows up with 10 men and I'm not here, it's a massacre. So what do we do? Ryman looked at Willa. You said you had evidence. Against Blackwood. For cattle poisoning, I do. Then give it to me. All of it. Because if I'm standing here with federal evidence when he shows up, that changes everything. Willa looked at me. I nodded. She went to her room. Came back with a leather portfolio, photographs, telegrams, testimonies, lab notes, everything. Ryman flipped through it, his face. Grim, this is. Substantial, it's proof, it's a start. But I need more. I need his confession. Or a witness to the act. We have the burlap sacks. Circumstantial. Then what? He looked at me. I need you to make him confess. Tonight. When he comes, I'll be hidden. With a deputy. Recording everything. You get him talking, admitting what he did, and I arrest him. Federal charges, murder, conspiracy. The works. And if he doesn't confess, then we hope the evidence is enough. It was a gamble, but it was all we had. Okay, I said. We do it, Ryman nodded. I'll be in the barn. With Deputy Oakes. You won't see us. But we'll hear everything. Just Keep him talking." He left, disappeared into the dark. Willa looked at me. "Yeah. This is it, yeah, you ready?" Not even a little, we smiled. Not even a little. Then waited. For the devil to come calling. 3 days had passed since Blackwood's ultimatum. 3 days of telegrams. Evidence gathering. Setting traps. Tonight was the 4th night, the deadline. And Sheriff Ryman had just confirmed what we already knew. Blackwood was coming. They came at midnight, exactly when Ryman said they would. 10 riders. Torches burning. Cutting through the dark like a funeral procession. Except we were supposed to be the corpses. I stood on the porch, rifle in hand. Heart hammering so hard I could hear it in my ears. Willa beside me. Still. Calm. Like she was waiting for a stagecoach. Not 10 armed men, McGeel in the doorway behind us. Shotgun loaded. Rosary in his other hand. Praying in Spanish, fast whispered prayers. The riders stopped. 20 yards out. Formed a semicircle. Blackwood in the center, on that black gelding. Silver saddle gleaming in the torchlight. He looked. Relaxed. Like this was a social call. Thornton, his voice carried. Smooth. Practiced. "I came to discuss your situation." "We have nothing to discuss." "Oh, I think we do. You see, I have in my possession a deed signed by the bank, transferring ownership of this property to me." Effective immediately, he held up a paper, too far to read, but official looking. "That's a forgery," I said. "It's legal. Verified by a notary. You're trespassing. On my land, this ranch is mine. My name's on the title, was on the title, passed. Now, I'm a reasonable man. I'll give you until dawn to pack your things, leave peacefully, and I won't press charges, and if I don't—" He smiled, that smile. "Then I'm afraid things will become unpleasant." The men behind him shifted, hands on guns. This was it, the moment. I looked at Willa. She nodded. "Do it, I know what you did," I said, voice loud, clear. "I know you poisoned my cattle, deliberately infected them with Texas fever ticks, to bankrupt me, so you could steal my land." Blackwood laughed. "That's quite an accusation. Do you have proof?" "I have burlap sacks, with your brand, found near my water source, filled with tick-infested hides." His smile faltered, just a fraction. "Anyone could have put those there. 3 other ranchers, the ones you bought out. They found similar sacks, same brand, same ticks, same pattern. Coincidence? Murder isn't coincidence." The word hung there, heavy, cold. Blackwood's face hardened. "I've never murdered anyone. You killed Dr. Samuel Ashford 4 years ago, burned his laboratory. Because his research threatened your profits? That was an accident. Investigated by federal marshals. Ruled accidental." Willa stepped forward, voice steady, deadly. "I was there. I saw you. November 3rd, 1886. You and 2 men. Threatening my father. Telling him to stop his research. 2 days later, the lab burned. My father died." Blackwood stared at her, recognition dawning. You're Ashford's daughter. Dr. Willa Catherine Ashford." "Yes, the girl who ran, who disappeared." "I didn't run. I regrouped." He laughed, harsh, bitter. "You think you can prove anything? You're a woman, a fugitive. Your testimony means nothing. My testimony is backed by science, by evidence, by documentation that can't be denied. It can be denied. It can be buried. It can disappear. Just like your father there." He said it. The confession. High in threat. But still, confession. I saw Willa's eyes flash, saw her hands tighten on her rifle. "You just admitted it," she said. Blackwood realized his mistake. "Too late. I admitted nothing. This conversation is over. You have until dawn. After that, my men will remove you. By force if necessary." He started to turn his horse, and Sheriff Tom Ryman stepped out of the barn. Deputy Oakes beside him, both with rifles, both with badges gleaming. "Nobody's going anywhere." Blackwood froze. "Sheriff, what are you doing here?" "My job, investigating a crime. And I just heard you threaten these people. Admit to destroying evidence. and implicate yourself in the death of Dr. Samuel Ashford. You heard nothing. I said nothing. I heard plenty. And so did Deputy Oakes. And so did the recording device Mrs. Thornton set up in that tree. Willa smiled, pointed to the pine tree, 20 yards behind Blackwood's men, where a small black box sat. Edison wax cylinder recorder, borrowed from the Stevensville newspaper, voice-activated, recording everything. Blackwood's face went white, then red, then blank. This is entrapment. This is evidence. Silas Blackwood, you're under arrest for conspiracy, for attempted murder, for arson, for about 15 other charges I'll think of on the ride back. You can't arrest me. I have lawyers. You have the right to shut your mouth, which I suggest you exercise. Ryman moved forward, handcuffs out. Blackwood's men reached for their guns. Don't, Ryman's voice, hard, cold. You draw on a lawman. That's a hanging offense. Every one of you. Are you willing to die for this man? The men looked at each other, at Blackwood, at the badges. One by one, they lowered their hands. Smart. Ryman cuffed Blackwood, hauled him off his horse. You'll regret this, Sheriff. I have friends, powerful friends. They'll what? Burn down another lab? Kill another scientist? I'm done with powerful men who think they're above the law. He looked at me. Mr. Thornton, Mrs. Thornton, you'll need to come to Helena, give official testimony. But for now, your ranch is safe. Thank you, Tom. Started to lead Blackwood away, but Blackwood, desperate now, turned back, looked at Willa. Your father was a fool. He could have been rich. He could have worked with us. Instead, he chose principles, and principles killed. Willa stepped off the porch, walked right up to him, looked him in the eye. My father chose truth over profit, science over greed. And yes, it got him killed. But his work lives on, through me, through every rancher who uses his methods, through every life saved by his research. She leaned closer. You killed him, but you couldn't kill his legacy. And now, you'll spend the rest of your life in prison, knowing that a woman, the daughter you tried to silence, brought you down. Blackwood's face, twisted rage, fear, defeat, all at once. Damn you. No, damn you. Ryman pulled him away. Onto a horse, hands, pride. Shattered, the other men followed, riding back to Stevensville, to justice, or the closest thing Montana had to it. We stood there, watching them disappear into the dark until the torches were just fireflies then. Nothing. Miguel crossed himself. Dios mío. We survived. We did. I looked at Willa. She was shaking. Not fear, not cold release. 4 years of running, fighting, hiding over. I put my hand on her shoulder. You did it. We did it. No. You brought him down. Your father would be proud. She looked at me. Eyes bright, wet. You think so? I know so. She collapsed, not fainting, just letting go all the strength that had been holding her up. Gun. I caught her, held her while she cried, hard, shaking sobs. The kind that come from somewhere deep, somewhere that's been locked away for too long. Miguel quietly went inside, left us alone. I held Willa in the snow, under the stars, and let her cry, because sometimes that's all you can do. The trial took 3 months. We went to Helena 6 times, testified. Willa presented her evidence, the photographs, the samples, the testimonies from other ranchers, the recording. Blackwood's lawyers fought hard, called Willa a liar, a hysteric, a scorned woman seeking revenge. But the science didn't lie. The ticks didn't lie. The burlap sacks, with his brand, didn't lie. And the recording, his own voice, admitting, threatening, confessing that, sealed it guilty on all counts. 25 years, federal prison, Oxet, seizure, to pay restitution to the ranchers he'd destroyed, including me, $50,000. More than enough to pay the bank, more than enough to rebuild, more than enough to live. When the verdict came down, Willa sat beside me in the courtroom, hands folded. face calm. But when the judge said, "Guilty," she reached for my hand, squeezed hard. And I squeezed back because some victories you don't celebrate alone. We stayed in Helena that night, hotel room. 2 beds, still keeping propriety, even though we were married. I mean, legally, yes. But not, actually, it was complicated. Willa sat by the window, looking out at the street below. "What are you thinking?" I ask. "That it's over. Really over, you sound." "Sad I am, a little. For 4 years, all I had was this, the mission, the goal. Bring Blackwood down. Prove my father right. And now I don't know what comes next." She turned to me. "What do you want to come next?" The question, the one I'd been avoiding, because answering it meant vulnerability. And I was terrible at vulnerability. But here goes. I want you to stay at Redemption Ridge. Not as a fugitive scientist using my ranch for experiments, but as my partner. My wife, Cal. I know. We started wrong, lies, desperation, mutual using. But somewhere along the way, it became real. For me, at least. And I don't want you to leave. Silence. Long silence then. I don't want to leave either. My heart jumped maybe, or exploded. Hard to tell, you don't? No, for 4 years, I've been alone, running, hiding. And then I came to your ranch, and for the first time, I felt home. She stood, walked to me. You gave me a place to work, to fight, to be myself. Not Dr. Ashford's daughter, not a fugitive, just Willa. You are Willa, brilliant, stubborn. Fearless Willa, she smiled. Stubborn? Extremely. You're one to talk, I know. We stood there close, too close for propriety. But not close enough for what I wanted, Cal. If I stay, it can't be. Pretend. I can't live in Anne's shadow. I can't be a replacement. You're not a replacement. You're the opposite. You're new, different, better than your dead wife? That's a low bar. Better for me. Now, the person I am. Not the person I was. She looked up at me. Green eyes searching. What are you saying? I'm saying, I love you, Willa Catherine Ashford, and I want this, us, to be real. There, I said it, out loud, where I couldn't take it back. Her eyes widened. You love me? Yeah, even though I lied to you? Especially because you lied. Because you were desperate enough, brave enough, to risk everything. That's terrible logic, I know. But it's true, she laughed, then cried, then kissed me. And it was everything fire. Warmth, home all at once when we pulled apart, she whispered. I love you too, you impossible, stubborn, mountain man, good. Because I wasn't planning on letting you go anyway. Possessive much? Extremely. She kissed me again, and this time, we didn't stop. 2 years had passed since the trial. I stood on the porch of Redemption Ridge, coffee in hand, watching my world. The ranch thrived. 200 head of cattle grazing in the valley, all healthy, all living proof that science worked better than prayer. A new barn, painted red, built with Blackwood's restitution money, fences mended, pastures green, and in the front yard, Willa's garden. She knelt in the dirt now, teaching our daughter to plant seeds. Anne Catherine Thornton, 2 years old, wild dark hair escaping her braids, green eyes that saw everything, questioned everything, just like her mother, Mama. Why does the seed grow? Willa's voice. Patient, clear, because it has everything it needs inside. Waiting until the conditions are right. What conditions? Water, soil, sun, time. Anne nodded. Serious, then went back to digging, her small hands pushing seeds into earth. Miguel stood beside me. Coffee in his hand, too. She is trouble. That one she already is. Like her mother, exactly like her mother. Willa looked up, caught me watching, smiled that smile, the one that's still. After 2 years, made my pulse forget how to behave. She stood, brushed dirt from her skirt, walked toward the porch, Anne toddling behind. Muddy hands, muddy face, huge grin. We planted carrots and potatoes. And hope. Hope isn't a vegetable. It should be. I laughed. Willa climbed the steps. Stood close, too close for propriety. But we were past propriety, Cal. Can I tell you something? Anything. She put her hand on her stomach. Small gesture. Secret smile. We're going to need a bigger garden. My brain started. Understood. You're 3 months. Didn't want to say anything until I was sure. I pulled her close, kissed her, and between us. Squealing, Papa, crushing, sorry. Baby, I set Willa back. Looked at her, another one? When? November, maybe December, another winter baby. Montana specializes in the difficult. Miguel crossed himself, Dios mio. 2 little scientists, God help us all, I said. But I was smiling. Annie tugged my leg, up. Papa, I picked her up. She pointed at the garden. The seed is growing already. That's impossible. Not impossible. Magic. Willa reached up. Touched my face. She's right. It is magic. I looked at her. This woman who'd answered a drunk man's letter. This brilliant, stubborn, perfect woman who'd saved my ranch with science, who'd brought down a cattle baron with evidence, who'd given me a family I never thought I'd have again. Thank you, I said. For what? For lying to me. For using me. For staying, she smiled. Thank you for being desperate enough to write that letter. Best drunk decision I ever made. Only drunk decision. True. We stood there, the 4 of us, soon to be 5, watching the sun set over the Bitterroot Mountains, the cattle grazing, the garden growing, the future. Uncertain. But ours. And I realized I didn't need redemption anymore. I'd already found it. Not in the mountains, not in the ranch, in her, in us, in the life we built. From lies, from a desperation, from love. The mountains didn't bury us. They gave us a place to heal, to fight, to win. And that was enough.